This is Deborah Johnson for Women at Halftime, and I'm passionate about helping women use their untapped skills, resources, and talents to create their ideal work and lifestyle, making a difference in their second half. Deborah Johnson back with you again today. I'm excited about our subject today. Where do you find inspiration? Right up my alley. And 5 questions to spark your inspiration. So I hope you leave today very inspired and with some new ideas. And that's my purpose. I would love to get you going with some additional inspiration. So to remind you, our cart for Learn Music Again is still open today, and we have some great freebies. So make sure you go to learnmusicagain.com. And if you're facing stress, music, it's an amazing resource for you. I've done some studies on stress, and there are many other studies out there. And it's a great stress reliever. And make sure you just take advantage of some of the free things that I am offering for you. Even if you're a very beginner, I'm gearing the program, the membership, toward more intermediates, but I have a great program for beginners, so don't discount it completely. So make sure you tune in. So, well, today, all about inspiration, but I'm also going to talk about creativity. Creativity and inspiration, they seem to kind of go together. And there have been many debates and many comments I've heard through the years about creativity and inspiration because I'm a writer. I'm a composer. I've done many projects. And if you look up songwriting, you can do a deeper search on songs that were written in less than an hour. It's actually very interesting. And many musicians and many students I have found, they think they could write a song if only that inspiration would hit them at the right time, or it would hit them overnight. Maybe they will dream of a song like Paul McCartney when he wrote the song Yesterday. Literally, the stories are written about this one. It really happened overnight as the song came to him in a dream. Although he did change a lot of the lyrics, but still that classic melody that we remember, Yesterday, is very, very classic. But inspiration and creativity is fueled by hours and hours of creating your creative bank. And that includes reading, it includes listening, it includes writing and rewriting, and basically filling your creative tank. So you have almost like a bank, or I always think of a big propane tank. I guess I've been on a lot of walks in areas that have propane tanks, so that's what I really think of. But when inspiration does hit, it feels like it's just overnight, but usually it's based on a number of other factors. So, and here, I'm going to ask 5 questions to spark your creative process. And we'll be dealing with these subjects of reading, listening, going outside, journaling, and courses. So I'm going to touch on all 5 of those areas. So first of all, the first question, and we can ask all of ourselves, what are you reading? So, yeah, reading like in a book. But whether it's an audiobook or it's a book on a device, on a Kindle or something else, or a physical book, which I actually love. I do a combination pretty much of all of those things. But you need to read. And it doesn't always matter what you're reading, but find something to engage your mind. That is very, very important. When I had a chance to listen to Richard Rodgers speak, now Richard Rodgers is a part of the musical duo Rodgers and Hammerstein. They wrote musicals like Oklahoma and many others, very famous musicals. He said something that really impacted me at that time because I was actively writing, and this was part of an ASCAP workshop or actually a meeting that I was able to go to And he said this: for every word that I write, I read 2,000 words. 2,000 words that he reads. Well, I kind of looked up and thought, okay, how many pages is 2,000 words? I was just kind of interested in the math. And it's approximately 4 single-spaced pages. So every time you read 4 pages, well, okay, so write another word. So, and I guess how many musical songs, as he was writing, they all vary in those songs and how many lyrics are in those songs and how many words used in a song. Of course, it depends on the song. Many musical songs are more linear without the type of repetition that standard pop songs have or standards have. And if we're talking about rap, okay, so there are up to twice as many words per minute as a standard musical song. And you'd be reading forever. What about Hamilton? And that uses a lot of rap. There's a lot of words in that musical. But the point of this whole first question is to read regularly and how important that is to help fill your tank. It's one of the questions, one of the areas, and that will really help inspire you. And what I do when I read is I write little notes. I document if it's a physical book. I keep notes on my computer somewhere that I'll put a file together of, some of my favorite parts of that book so I can always reference them and go back to them. Audiobooks are a little bit more difficult, although I have a little area on my phone. I can take some notes. But write some of those things down because they'll inspire you in some way. You never know when either. So, okay, so that's the first question. What are you reading? And number 2, what are you listening to? And I did a study on classical music when recording my album, Classical Spice. And that was, I think it was the 3rd project I had done, kind of way back. It was a Hooked on Classics with classical pieces that I recorded on my acoustic piano, but I put a lot of other backgrounds with it. And I even put together a small booklet that I sent to schools. I sent it all over the country, pretty much, that were using that album with music history lessons and using the recordings. And also when writing the book Music for Kids, which was a little bit more recent, I wrote a bonus chapter on how important classical music was. And a bonus chapter was entitled The Mozart Effect. If you look up that term, the Mozart effect, you'll be able to read quite a bit online. And I cover in that little chapter why Einstein played Mozart and how he used music as a tool to help him in his work. And we all know how brilliant Einstein is or was. And his second wife, Elsa, said about music, music helps him when he is thinking about his theories. He goes to his study, comes back, strikes a few chords on the piano, jots something down, then he returns to his study. So, and he played the violin as well, but it was just a great a reprieve for him to just listen to those melodies. And there are many other types of media to listen to besides music, of course, but I encourage you to add a few classical pieces as a part of your listening playlist. It really does relax the mind, keep the mind focused. There are many other studies online. You can look them up. Also, when you are listening, when we're talking about listening as a whole, choose podcasts and other media that will inspire and spark your creativity. I kind of look at the title of the episodes to see, sometimes I feel like listening to certain things more than others. And there are a lot of podcasts pretty much doing the same thing. So I try to create some variety at least. But keep it going with your mind. Just again, engage the mind. So we've got the first 2 with what are you reading? What are you listening to? Number 3, are you getting outside? I like this one. And in Cal Newport's book, Deep Work, It's a great book, by the way. I've read several different books by Cal Newport. Really like this one, for creatives especially. There's a chapter called Embrace Boredom. Okay, what a title. But he talks about scheduling the occasional break from focus to give in to distraction. And in my opinion, when you get outside among nature, it's a wonderful reprieve from that focus time. And while reading that book, I'm doing an episode coming up on the value of deep work. I really discovered that is the reason I have been able to finish so many projects successfully. A lot of people have a hard time finishing them, but I'm able to focus, and I've kind of trained my mind to do that. But part of that focus is taking breaks, intentional breaks. And I'm trying to be even more intentional about it now because I'm realizing even more what I'm doing here at this stage. I'm finally realizing what I'm doing more and more. But outside, recently we were in a place where I could take a walk among nature and among the trees. And I didn't want to listen to anything. I didn't want any sort of distraction. I just wanted to be able to enjoy the complete break from sitting behind a computer, from doing anything else, and enjoy that sort of scene. And maybe you're at the beach in front of the waves crashing, and just seeing the continuous tide going in and out. There's just a feeling of awe almost when you are standing there thinking, with all that's going on, there's this regular tide still going on, in and out, not changing. You still have those fish and all of the whales and the dolphins, and you still have the trees growing, and you still have all of these things going on around us. Or looking at the stars at night, and you're realizing the expanse that there is, and it really evokes a certain feeling of awe for me, and it gives me a whole different perspective. And the vastness of nature and the creation around me just gives me a wonderful perspective of what I am doing, because my little world is just a micro part of that big picture. And when I look at a 400-year-old oak tree that's lived longer than 4 generations, I wonder what little children used to climb on those branches. And that's a creative thought. Okay, so it just kind of gives that little break. And with the diversion that getting outside creates, it's sure to spark creativity. And you can take those small breaks, whether you are walking outdoors in your area, whether you're taking a short local day trip or longer when you can. It doesn't need to cost a lot. It doesn't need to cost a lot of money or time. And the time is very, very well worth it. And to just give that sort of break, it's amazing. Many of you listening will go, yeah, I've experienced that before. So definitely. But you have to schedule them, because life just gets busy, very, very busy. So again, question 1, what are you reading? What are you listening to? Are you getting outside? Then we come to, are you journaling? I like this one. I'm a big believer in journaling. There's a book called The Artist's Way, and many people, especially creatives, recommend this highly, and I've read that, of course. It encourages longer times of journaling, but that's not always possible. And I tell people that. I said, yeah, that's a good book, but be careful as you try to do this so regularly, especially if you're caring for small children, or you're even caring for parents. Many are now doing that as well. You don't have those long stretches of time just to sit and do 3 pages, 4 pages of journaling. Even though it's very beneficial, you may not be able to keep that up regularly. And I think the main benefit of journaling is putting your thoughts down consistently. And consistently is a big deal, because I think as you are able to do something very, very consistent, you will find that will bring change. Consistency will bring change. And I started some years ago, a challenge. I started what was called my 90-day journal challenge. And I think it was my husband that encouraged me to do this with him, just writing a few lines a day. Because I had been journaling for years, but I kind of got out of the habit. And I have a number of my journals. And I told someone the other day, yes, I've written a lot of journals, and some of those pages I ripped out and threw away because I didn't know how anybody to find those. After cleaning through my parents when they passed in their home, I'm thinking, ooh, what do I want people to find? But I needed to write some of those thoughts down. But we went on to this little 90-day journal challenge, and I have not stopped. And it was basically a daily routine every single day. And I picked the morning because I like to get on things, exercise, everything else in the morning. And it was easy to implement. I just wrote a simple thought, 2 or 3 lines. And it's stuck with me. And if you've listened to any of my episodes or you've read any of my articles on the value of journaling, you will know that this has been a habit of mine, become a very important habit. And I number them just because it's fun to see how many I can fit into a book. And it's really pretty incredible how many entries, and they're just short. A lot of those become little memes or little ideas for articles. I starred the ones that seem to be a little bit more inspirational. But and there's a great quote that I love to remember, that thoughts disentangle themselves through the fingertips and then the lips. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Your thoughts will disentangle themselves through the fingertips and then the lips, because as you write it down, I'm a big believer in writing it down, and then the lips. So you're able to speak it, you're able to own it a lot more. So I'd heard it for many years, and I've experienced that definitely. But again, you need to start and get going on it and make it simple. Make it a routine and find a specific place to journal. I have my little journals in my kitchen, actually in a little cabinet. And so I can get to it in the morning because I get up pretty much earlier than anyone else, even my dog. And although my dog wants to get up as soon as I get up, but it doesn't need to take longer than 5 minutes. But you can spend as long as you want on your journaling. Nothing wrong with that. But create a routine that you can keep up, because it will really be good for you mentally and creatively, and it will keep the juices flowing. That's what you want. You want some sort of a routine that keeps the juices going, that you're able to fill that bank, the tank, the creative tank. So, all right. So we've now talked about what are you reading? What are you listening to? Are you getting outside? Are you journaling? And the last one, what courses are you taking? Woohoo! Okay, our education never ends. When I finished school, I was kind of burnt out, especially undergraduate school. I was done. I had a teaching credential, didn't really want to teach at that point in the schools. I ended up doing that actually for 2 years, and also started teaching college. And decided then to go on with graduate work. But, I just thought, another course. But I really found in pursuing business that my education definitely, in many areas, was just starting. I have told music students, and I've taught music business, and I've told many of them, you need a business degree. You need to keep going on this, because these principles are so very important for running a business. You need to think of yourself as that, not just as an artist. And I'm inspired with many stories of lifelong learners. And I love the story of lynda.com. Now it's LinkedIn Learning, if you looked it up online. Lynda is Lynda, lynda.com. And Linda Weinman created lynda.com in 1995 with courses including everything from Excel to word processing to even web design. And actually, I had signed up for a year when it was lynda.com way back, and used the platform because I was first starting to edit my websites, and I was on HTML on a program called Dreamweaver, and it was challenging. And the courses that were provided on lynda.com were so good and so thorough. It was so very helpful for me and helped me through a lot of that. And it felt like at that point I needed to learn how to do some of this myself, even though I ended up hiring some of it out. But I wanted to educate myself enough that I knew what to hire, and I didn't want to be taken advantage of. There were times that I was charged a lot of money and I wasn't really happy. So, but this is this fun story about Lynda Weinman. And after she sold lynda.com, the numbers say that she sold it for $1.5 billion. That was, a good number. I know she had some investments and everything to pay back. But she said when she was asked, okay, so what's next for you, Lynda Weinman? And she said this: there's a lot I want to make sure I take the time to carefully consider. And I think it's important to have a break and refresh and come to it with a beginner's mind, whatever the next thing is. Oh, I thought that was great. Beginner's mind, always learning, always looking ahead, and it'll keep you young. It really will. It will keep you inspired. It will keep you creative if you think of as a beginner's mind. And I know many of us who have been in business for a long time, many of us who are composers, that we've done this, we've been there, we've done that. It's like, and you hear these little stories and everybody's excited and thinking, look what's ahead. You don't want to discourage anybody. I never want to discourage anybody from their journey and from their dreams and all of that. And I feel like this beginner's mindset in growing and learning is something I always want to do. And I have been growing and learning more, I think, through this stage of my life, putting up more online courses and the growth factor there and the learning curve to be able to do that, to make sure everything's working correctly, and the little technical glitches. You have to be so committed to learning and growing, and people will give you grace through this time, but you have to be willing to take those risks and to grow and to learn. Take the courses that will help you do that. Take the courses to help you put up an online course. Pay for them. Pay good money for them, because if you pay for something, you will do the work. I've been teaching for many, many years. I know when people pay for it, most of the time, they will complete a lot of the work. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes it just, if they are, the statistics on online courses, people only finish, up to 30% of them, which is very sad to me. But we want people to grow and people to learn. And I hope all of my courses at least are interesting enough throughout that will keep people's attention and help them go along with little steps. And I have a number of online courses, and you can look those up, of course, anytime on my website with my online training, and online courses. So again, I'm going to repeat all 5 of these questions, and they really they pertain to creativity and inspiration, but they will help spark your inspiration. When you think about a spark, think of that. Even a firecracker going off, just that beginning spark that'll help get it going. It may not totally launch all the way, but it'll get it going. It'll at least give some light. Number 1, what are you reading? Just start your list. Just start a list, and anytime you hear of something, write it down. I am always writing the notes down, because then I'll forget. I just know I'm going to forget about that book if I do not put it somewhere that I can refer to it when I'm looking for my next book. What are you listening to? Please consider some classical music as well. It's wonderful for the mind. It doesn't have to be very involved, and I would stay away from some of the dissonant classical music, but anything, the Mozarts, the Beethovens, the Bach, I love Debussy. I love the Impressionists. That's my favorite. I love to play that. So, but what are you listening to? And then are you getting outside? Just get some fresh air. It's so good for you. Just that fresh air, being able to not be afraid to be by yourself and get into a little bit of what's around you to enjoy. Just enjoy even the small little things, a garden. Are you journaling to be able to write down your thoughts? Journals get some sort of tablet. And if you want to get a journal, of course, you can always go online and buy a fancy journal. But I usually just get something very, very basic. And journals are just keep track. Get something that you'll enjoy opening up every morning or evening whenever you decide to journal. I like to do it in the mornings. And then what courses are you taking? Again, write down some ideas. Don't be afraid to expand a little bit. I, of course, at one point expanded into the web design. It's interesting. You don't need to study code. I always thought, I'm going to learn all this and, really be proficient in it. There's only so much time in your day. Also, I wanted, I'll admit this at some point in my little journey, I wanted to fly planes too. But, there's only so much time we have to do. That was a complete diversion. You didn't need to hear all that. But yes, but definitely keep your mind sharp and keep those creative juices going and find a place where you can write down your ideas. So I hope that's inspired you and given you a few more ideas today. And I always write an article that goes with each of these episodes. So make sure you go to my website, goalsforyourlife.com. You can find those articles. You can always find the links to those on any of my pages, even the podcast page. So, and I hope you come back next week because I have a wonderful interview. A really special interview next week. I've entitled From Starting Hannah Anderson to Philanthropist. And this is with Gun Denhart that I interviewed. Now, Gun started her business at the age of 38. And Hannah Anderson, I got to know that business a little bit because we did this little Polar Express trip with our kids and grandkids these last holiday seasons. And it was so much fun. And we all had matching pajamas. I have never seen so many matchy pajamas in my life. They were just everywhere. And everybody had a little bit different design. But that's Hannah Anderson is where this company, now she's sold it. I think she sold it. She wouldn't mind me telling you. It was pretty public for $175 million or something. And they were ownership, she and her husband. They did not do venture capital, any of that. And now she loves to give her time and her resources to different organizations. Very generous lady. You're going to love, originally from Sweden, you're going to love hearing from her. So make sure you tune in next week. It's a very popular episode. And I hope if you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share it with your friends. Would love more and more people to be able to listen in. It's just such fun topics for people, many relevant subjects for people that are at the halftime or midlife of life. And it's not over. Many parts of your life are just beginning. And so I hope you are inspired. You can always reach me at goalsforyourlife.com, at womenathalftime.com. And remember, learn music again as well, because I'd love you to get going on your music. And so until next time, this is Deborah Johnson, and bye for now. Thank you for joining us on Women at Halftime. Visit goalsforyourlife.com or womenathalftime.com for many more resources, downloads, and programs, or to get in touch with me. I'd love it if you leave me a review and tell your friends. So until next time, this is Deborah Johnson, signing off.